Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday, December 22nd, 2024 writing reading class. Hope you had a great week. Let's go ahead and get started. Just give me a one in the chat room to let me know that you can hear me okay, and we'll begin. Perfect. And so we'll start off today with our quote and then move into some expansion on that. We'll get into a reading with a quiz. We'll talk about some theories for good writing, introduce a new book, and wrap up with some vocabulary. Let's go ahead and get started. Cynthia, would you like to go ahead and read the quote over on the left side that you see there? Can you unmute Cynthia and read that quote over on the left? Okay, I'll let you kind of work on your mic there. Wesley, can you go ahead and read the quote on the left?
If you get all tangled up, just tangle on.
Excellent. If you get all tangled up, just tango on. Anyone have an idea of what this quote means? Anything that the author is trying to say? Any guesses? Alice, any thoughts on what the author of this quote is trying to say? Andy, any ideas? Any thoughts on what they're trying
No
to say?
idea.
No? And
If you do something wrong, just go on this path and maybe you'll get right in the end.
yes, exactly. Yeah, the phrase tangled up actually is referring to a situation that might be difficult, where you're trying to figure out an obstacle or some problem. And then the fact that you just tango on is the phrase of just continuing to figure it out. Eventually, you will figure it out. So, what's kind of fun about this quote is it uses this use of the T sound in both parts of the phrase, tangled up and tangle on. It has a similar ring to it. Does anyone know what literary device this is when we have similar sounds being produced in phrases? Ethan, any idea what this technique is?
I don't know.
No? Well, this is what's called alliteration. Alliteration is a beautiful technique that you can use in your writing, which is a repetition of the initial sound of a word. Now, sometimes when people use alliteration, they use it quite a bit. So almost every single word in the sentence has the same beginning consonant sound. We see a couple of them over on the right side here where it says bouncing baby bunnies or a quick, quiet cat, daring dogs dash, funny, fluffy ferrets. What it does, it just creates this really fun repetition of that initial word. Now, using alliteration should be something that you use sparingly. We tend to use it when we want to say something important. We want to say something that is memorable for our readers or our listeners. But not every single word has to have the same alliteration. As we see here, we have the phrase "if you get all," that has nothing to do with the T sound. If you get all tangled up, just tango on. We have just is also not a part of that. But yet we still recognize the alliteration being used within the sentence. Right now, I'd like for you to think about creating a sentence that uses alliteration. Think about using the same consonant sound for a word where you use it in the sentence 2 or 3 times within your sentence. Doesn't have to be every single word, but we have something that we recognize that sound. To get you started, think of a word and think about other words that have that same consonant sound, and that will be a good starting point. And then try to work with those words and create a sentence. Once you have your sentence, you can submit it to me privately in the chat room. Then we'll take a look at your sentences and discuss. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the sentence that came in. If you want to submit, just go ahead and start to wrap up before we move on to the next um, section. But let's take a look at yours, Andy. Let me go ahead and get it copied here, and then I'll have you read it for the group. Okay, go ahead, Andy.
Spray the screen with Sprite.
Excellent. So what is your alliteration? What is your consonant sound you're working with?
S.
S. Well, I actually think it's more than just the S, which is interesting in your case. Yours is actually more of an SP sound, a sp sound, which sometimes is the case when we work with alliteration. It may not just be the initial word, but if we could actually make yours even stronger, if we work with the sp sound, I wonder if we could find a word for screen that matches that. Can you think of a word that uses the sp sound that could work even better?
I'm not sure.
I'm thinking of a word spot. Spray
Spot.
the spot with Sprite. Now we have a little bit of a
Buzz sound.
b sound. Now we can even take yours a step further though. If we look at yours, there is even a spr sound, an SPR that you use twice. Could we benefit from creating finding an even another word to replace the spr? So now we have
Mm,
spray and sprite and another spr sound. Can you think of something?
I'm not sure either.
So let's think we have words like spree, um, express. That could even be one where we work with the S off of an X sound. So how about this? Now, may not make the most sense, but what if we said spray the expressway with Sprite? Do you hear the spra being produced now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of fun what you can create. But that's the idea, to looking at the consonants, and sometimes maybe it's even more. Very good. Let me go ahead and copy over our next writer. Wesley, do you want to go ahead and read yours?
There's a small swimsuit in the car.
Okay, so what sound were you working with?
S.
S. Okay. Now, similar, I was just talking with Andy. We might even take yours a step further. And is there a sma sound? Is there something that you could work with the sma sound that would work even better? Let me give you an idea. What if you were to say smell? There's a small smell in the car. Do you hear the ring now of the alliteration? Small smell, the sma sound. And even I would even see if we could create something with the car and doing something where there takes a little creation, but yeah, that's kind of the idea. We're thinking of the um and just so you all can see, when we go back to this original quote, tangle and tango, what's the similar ring? Do you notice how we have Tang, Tang? So they're playing off of more than even just the one syllable. Tangled and tango. They still have the similar ring. That's how we can increase and make our alliteration even that much stronger. Okay, good. Ethan, let's have you read yours. Go ahead, Ethan.
Dogs are dancing near the front door.
Oh, okay, I like this. Dogs are dancing. And you know what I would do? Within your alliteration, do you hear a certain rhythm, a certain stress of beats? We oftentimes find this in alliteration, which is why it's so popular, definitely in poetry. But if I emphasize the words dog, dance, you have a stress beat, an unstressed beat, a stress beat, an unstressed beat. Dogs are dancing. If we take out door, or if we take out front and now just say door, that will actually have alliteration, but also rhythm to your alliteration. Dogs are dancing near the door. Do you hear that? Beat, beat, beat. Dogs are dancing near the door. Very good. Okay, let me copy over our next Alice. Alice, you want to go ahead and read yours?
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers.
Yes. Now, this is a very famous one. I was curious if maybe you could make one of your own, though, Alice, next time. This is one that's, it's a very common one that when people are talking about alliteration, but the goal is to try to see if you can create something of your own. But yes, you're right. Peter Piper picked a pick of pickled peppers. This is a famous alliteration. Sometimes when we think, if you've ever heard of tongue twisters, this is another thing that uses alliteration. And this is an example of a tongue twister. It's something that people try to say 3 times in a row. But yes, that is an example of alliteration. Very good. So think about that as we move into our writing a little bit. Maybe find one sentence as you do your writing discussion, to see if you can incorporate a little bit of alliteration. But today we actually are going to talk a little bit about tango, a very unique dance. Cynthia, can you read the first paragraph at the top?
Tango is one of the most famous and
Influential.
influential dances in the world, popular in Europe,
In Europe,
Europe, South and North America, originating
originating
originating in
Buenos Aires,
Buenos Aires in the 18th
century.
century. Tango brought together working class, European,
European
European
immigrants,
immigrants,
indigenous,
indigenous,
Argentinians,
Argentinians, and farmers as a has
result,
result. Tango has shaped Argentinian
culture,
culture and
society. Alice, can you read the second paragraph?
The original tango dance was a blend of styles produced by the mix of cultures in the lively port of Ben-
Buenos,
Benu-
Buenos
Buenos
Aires.
Buenos Aires. In the 19th century, thousands of young people arrived from Europe in search of a better life. In the Argentina capital, they lived side by side with former
Slaves.
slaves and indigenous peoples.
Very good. Andy, can you read the third paragraph?
As a result, their traditions in dance and music began to mesh. People from Spain, Italy, England, Poland, and African nations lived alongside native Argentinians to create new Argentina traditions, influenced by flamenco, polka, and numerous traditional African dances. Tango became a byword for the music of immigrants.
And Ethan, can you read the last paragraph?
Accompanied by
Accompanied?
accompanied by solo guitar, the dance became an Argentine household staple, alternatively composed
Alternatively?
alternate
Alternatively?
alternatively couples would dance to orquesta tipica. These small bands would include violins, piano, flute, a double bass, and
Bass?
the bass, and the bandoneon or tango accordion.
Excellent. Yeah, very popular dance with a much a very rich history. Now, you're gonna answer one of the following questions based on our reading. Either number one, explain what styles and cultures blended to create Argentine tango, or number two, what type of musical instruments are used in tango music, or number three, where is tango dance today? Now, your goal as you answer the question is to give enough detail that the readers wouldn't have any additional questions. So think of creating at least 3 sentences in your response to answer the question. Incorporate the question within your response so that in case the reader did not read the question, they understand what you're saying. Right now, I'm copying all 3 questions over to the chat room that you can refer to. And I'll go back to the reading so that you can gather any information that you need to help answer your question. However, remember that you don't want to copy writing directly from the source. You want to phrase it in your own words. And then once you have your writing, then you can submit it to me privately, and then we'll take a look and discuss. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the examples coming in. If you want to submit, just go ahead and start to wrap up before we move on. Let me copy over Alice. And Alice, I'll have you read yours for the group. Okay, go ahead, Alice.
There are many musical instruments used in tango music. It may include violins, piano, flute, and double bass, and the bandoneon or tango accordion. They made the tango music more melodious.
Very good. Okay, this is really great, Alice. I like how you start out with a statement that's very general, as you're going to answer the question, and then you go into specifics, and then you give us some final reflection about the material that you just discussed. This is the perfect structure for answering a question. Now let's just discuss one grammatical thing here. You said there are many instruments. So now when we move into the second part, we're talking about more than one. So instead of it should be they. They may include, and now we are referring to the instruments here. Um, but great job with the language may because it's not all the single time. Um, and uh and then the very last phrase I really love. Now here what I would do is I would put this in the present because as we started in the beginning, there are here too, they make. Now here we did refer to they when it was talking about the instruments. However, because you said violins, we now have to think of the last pronoun, the last noun that was plural in your previous sentence. So what I would do here is actually say these instruments. Now we know that we're not talking specifically about violins, but we're referring to all the instruments. Um, uh, make tango music more melodious. So just a couple of things with just agreements as far as your pronouns and nouns and then your verb tenses. But as far as the structure, great job here. Okay, we're going to move on, but I want to see, is anyone working on this exercise before I move to the next? Anyone about to submit? Okay, Wesley, I just got yours in here. Let me go ahead and take a look here for you. Okay. Wesley, do you want to go ahead and read yours?
Tango music needs guitar, violin, and uh,
Bandonian.
bandoneon.
Excellent. Okay, good. Now, okay, you've got a good start to your sentence, but there's some questions that your readers would probably have. Needs Tango music needs this for what reason? Why does music need this? Is it a need or is it just what tango music is often played with? So two questions that I had, one dealt with why, and the other one dealt with is this verb need really the verb that you want to express? I'm not quite sure if it is. Now, if we look kind of at the last example I was just talking about with Alice, we first want to think about structuring our first sentence as a statement that is general. Okay, so you were answering question number two. Let's take a look here. What type of musical instruments are used in tango? Now, you're going to talk about lots of different instruments. So why don't we make a statement that's general and say something like, there are many instruments that are used in tango music. So this is an example of using your question, phrasing your question and putting it in your response. That way the reader knows the context. Now we could say something like some of these instruments, or some of them are guitar, violin, and bandoneon. Now, ideally, we want a final statement that is a reflection on what we just said. Let me give you an option. We know that there's more other instruments. So we can make a statement saying, while these are popular, there are others that are also used, like, and if we could think of one, like double bass. Double bass. Okay. So seek as you improve your writing, seek to answer your questions in that format. First a general statement, then specifics, and then some final reflection. And that will make for a much more detailed detailed response to your questions. Okay, let me copy over our next writer. Ethan, I'll have you read yours. Okay, go ahead, Ethan.
There is one main reason to explain why what styles and cultures blended to create Argentine tango. Firstly, people from Spain, Italy, England, Poland, and African nations lived near to where the Argentines lived to build the new Argentine culture. For this reason, it created the Argentine tango.
Okay, excellent. So Ethan, this is really nice. I like how you develop your story here. Now, one suggestion is if you are not going to give us more than one um, answer, we don't need to create a transitional start to your sentence, like firstly, because that implies that there's also going to be a second. So if it's just one, you don't need it. So let's go ahead and change that to people. Good. Now, I wonder in your sentence if we can be a little bit more um, direct in our sentences by eliminating some extra words that maybe we don't need. So you start out by saying, there is one main reason to explain. If you had to cut anything out of that phrase there, can you think of a part that would be the best to cut out? Any idea?
Main just one reason.
Okay, yeah. That would work. Yeah, we could say here one reason to explain to explain what created Argentine tango. Actually, I'm going to keep your opener. There is one reason but I think we can get rid of to explain. To explain, how about this? How Argentine tango was created. It's saying the exact same thing that you said, but just more direct, less words. There's one reason how Argentine tango was created. People from Spain, Italy, that sentence is really good. Let's see. Lived near to where? I think we can eliminate something here. Any idea what it could be? So basically, I think what you're trying to say here is that all of these cultures mixed. How about we say something like that? People from Spain, Italy, Poland, and African nations lived next to each other or next to one another, creating a new Argentine culture. For this reason, it created the Argentine tango. Now, here in this last statement, I don't quite see the correlation. We were talking about them living next to each other, but we don't have any statement letting us know that there was any dancing that was going on. How about we say that within our second sentence? Creating a new Argentine dance. For this reason, and here I think we can get rid of the Argentine tango was formed. So you had some good material. I just wanted to make it more concise. Let's see here. Let me add this. And just eliminate some of the extra words that we really didn't need. But good idea with the structure as far as the number of sentences to answer the question. Well done. Okay, everyone, I want to talk. We've been talking a lot about our different verb tenses. We've gone through the simple and the continuous, both in past, present, and future. But we now are looking at the perfect tenses. So this week, last week we were talking about what's the difference between past simple and present perfect simple. But this week, let's look at present perfect simple and present perfect continuous. So the first one, present perfect simple, we have traveled to Greece. And then the second one, present perfect continuous, we have been traveling to Greece for 1 hour. What is the difference in what I'm trying to say? Raise your hand if you have an idea. Ethan?
The second one is more like more has more things like 1 hour and the other one doesn't.
Okay. And what do you think that 1 hour is expressing?
A specific time.
Or maybe a period of time. Yeah, and that is
Yeah.
the difference. When we speak of the continuous tense, we're always focused on a period of time. What was happening during a period of time. Now, there's something else that's key in the difference between these two sentences. Can anyone notice the difference? Ethan?
Have been traveling.
Well, something in the meaning. Something in the meaning. Okay, let me ask you some questions. In the first sentence, is the person traveling right now? Cynthia, what do you think? In that first sentence, is the person traveling? Any thoughts, Cynthia? Is the person traveling? What do you think, Wesley? Is the person traveling in the first sentence?
No.
No, the person is not traveling. What about the second sentence? Is the person traveling?
Yes.
Yes. That is one of the key differences here, too. When we use the present perfect continuous, we're talking about an action that started in the past, but is still continuing, where the present perfect simple is expressing something that is not happening right now, but it's finished. It started in the past, but now we're reflecting up to what's been accomplished up until now in the present moment. So present perfect simple and continuous both started in the past, but present perfect simple is finished. Present perfect continuous is still happening. Now, if we look at the structure of how these are formed, I'll go back to here. In the first sentence, we have traveled. This is has or have plus the past participle of the verb. Present perfect continuous is has or have been plus the verb ing form. And as we noted here, we oftentimes see period of time indicated when we're talking about present perfect continuous because our focus is on what's been occurring and still is occurring. Let's look at some examples and see if we can figure out which one is the correct one to use. Number one, it says, Pavarti with the verb read the book all afternoon. Now, our choices are Pavarti has read the book all afternoon, or Pavarti has been reading the book all afternoon. Which do you think is correct? Ethan?
Has been reading.
You're correct. Has been reading is correct. The all afternoon is a key piece here because that lets us know that we're focused on the period of time. Let's look at the next one. Alice, I want you to try this next one. They, with the verb call for hours. Now, it could be they have called for hours or they have been calling for hours. Which do you think is correct?
They have been calling for hours.
That is correct. Once again, we have the period of time indicated 4 hours. Andy, try the next one. Jenny, how many apples with the verb pick? Now you're going to use we're going to use the pronoun you in this sentence. The pronoun you in this sentence. What do you think here?
Jenny, how many peoples have you picked?
Have you picked? How many apples have you picked? Right. Present perfect, simple. We're not talking about continuing. Cynthia, take a look at the next one. Number 4, it says, he is very tired now. He with the verb run.
It's rain.
No, so we have two choices. It could be he has run or he has been running.
He has run.
Actually, he has been running. Now, let me tell you why. If we look at the first part of the sentence, he is tired now. So now what we're talking about is what has been occurring over a period of time. He has been running. So we think that in this sentence that the running is still occurring. So now is a key piece. If you see now, that's always going to be a reflection for a continuous tense. Ethan, try the next one. Molly, with the verb study hard. She'll take an exam next week.
Molly has been studying hard.
Very good. Has been studying, correct. Wesley, take a look at number 6. Dinner's ready. My mother, with the verb cook, a good meal for the family.
Uh, uh,
You want to know?
dinner is
Okay, go ahead.
ready. My mother have cooking a good food meal for the family.
So your two options, because we have mother, would be in a third person, has cooked a good meal or has been cooking a good meal. Has cooked a good
Has
meal
been
or
cook-
has been cooking.
has been cooking.
Now it says dinner's ready. So is it still happening? Or is it finished?
It's finished.
It's finished. Yeah, so if it's finished, that's actually present perfect simple. Has cooked a good meal. Okay, let's try one more round of these. Alice, take a look at number 7. What, with the verb do, you, serious, you are covered in paint. So your choice is what have you done serious or what have you been doing serious?
What have you been serious?
What have you been doing? Or what have you done?
What have you done?
Actually, this is what have you been doing? When we answer the question, we're interested in what caused this paint to occur. What was the action that was occurring over a period of time that caused all this paint to be over this person? I could see how you could think it have you done, but this is when we ask the question, our focus is really on what caused this to happen over the period of time. These can be tricky sometimes. Andy, take a look at number 2. Or sorry, number 8. They with the verb run 4,000 meters.
They have ran 4,000 meters.
They have run 4,000 meters. Past participle run. Yes, good. Cynthia, number 9. How long with the verb wait Peter for the bus?
How long has Peter been waiting for the bus?
Very good. Yes, we're interested in the period of time from the start up until now. We assume that the waiting is still happening. Ethan, number 10, my grandparents with the verb live in this house all their life.
My grandparents have been living in this house all of their life.
Very good. Excellent. Still occurring. And then Wesley, number 11, my grandpa with the verb visit many different countries.
My grandpa has visited many different countries.
Has visited. Has visited?
Yes,
Yes, has
yes.
visited many different countries. Very good. Yeah. Focus on the actions that have occurred up until now. Good. All right. Now, just for time purposes, if you'd like to go ahead and make some sentences, you can do that a little bit later. But I want to talk about our book of the day and then look at some of our vocabulary. Next week, very interesting, we have a book that's called Dogs versus Bears. And you might be surprised by the author here because the author is actually only 11 years old. Imagine that, someone of this age having their own book published. Well, here's a little bit about the author that you can read. Let's take a look at what this story is about. Cynthia, can you read the first paragraph?
For Scott
Great.
the
Greater.
Greater Austin does
Davis.
in this a new way for kids to learn about
Diver
diversity,
diversity.
diversity, appreciating
Appreciating.
difference, appreciating difference and teamwork. Austins never know the truth that his stuffed animals some to live
Right.
whenever he leaves the house. Every time he goes to school, his bedroom becomes a brutal thing of battling teddy bears and stuffy dogs.
Alice, can you read the second paragraph?
Minion, leader of the bears, fights fiercely against Wolf the dogs, commander over who will reign
Supreme.
supreme. But after years of fighting, the bears and dogs discover a new
Threat.
strat. Will they be wiped out by an invading species, or can these two groups put aside their difference and
Differences.
differences and face it together? The future of the fortress and Austin's realm depends upon it.
Excellent. So fascinating book, not a very long book, only 52 pages. So I encourage you to take a look um, uh, at this book written by 11-year-old. Now we had a couple of words. I want you to see if you can use one of the words in a sentence. Your choice is indigenous, byword, or staple. Once you have your sentence, you can go ahead and submit, and then we'll take a look just to make sure the meaning is correct. Okay, while everyone's finishing up their sentence, Alice, I know you sent in a sentence here between the two tenses. I'm going to go ahead and move there just so we can discuss real quick those. Um, so your two sentences, your first one's good. You wrote, I have played a tennis match, and then you wrote, I have been playing a tennis match. Now, the one thing that we're missing from the second is that we need to know it's happening over a period of time. I have been playing a tennis match for the last hour. Okay. Now I know that it's still occurring and that we also have the period of time indicated. So just remember when you form the present perfect continuous, we need that period of time within the sentence to let us know that it's still occurring. Okay, let me go ahead and take a look at your sentences, your second sentence that you wrote here for for the writing. Okay, so you wrote Alice, the comedy uh show has become a staple of our weekly routine. Okay, so I'm thinking that this is a specific comedy show that you go to. Maybe it's the same comedy show. Um, Another option you might want to consider is saying a comedy show versus the, because the makes it sound like it's It's a specific comedy show. A comedy show now means that, okay, we go to different ones, which I think works a little bit better because if it was the same comedy show, you would know the jokes and it might not be as entertaining. So I think A works a little bit better there. Ethan, you wrote the most staple goal of the robbery is to steal the gold statue in the temple, said the robbers. Um, let's talk about this one. So when we think of something that is a staple, this is something that is it's something that occurs regularly, that is an important part of what you do. So that definition doesn't quite work the way you want it to. Let me give you another sentence that could work. Using, let's see, what might a robber use? Using or wearing a mask is a staple thing that you must have if you are a robber. So now we understand staple being this needed thing, something that's important all the time when something occurs. Okay, now you also wrote, I played at the park. Oh, okay, so this was when I have been playing at the park for 2 hours. Okay, let me take this one and put that um, over here. Both of these actually work really nicely. They both, your second one for present perfect continuous includes the time, so that's good. So yeah, both of these work really nicely. Good, very good with both of those. Okay. Any other sentences that we have coming in from our writers? Whether it be the perfect ones, the present perfect simple or present perfect continuous are our words here. Just curious, can anyone think of how to use byword in a sentence? Byword? Let me give you an example. So if I were to say kindness is a byword for, and then I could name someone like John. Kindness is a byword for John, meaning that he is always kind. That is just a part of his personality. What about indigenous? Anyone can create a sentence using indigenous? Wesley, you want to try indigenous? See if you can come up with something for indigenous. Let me give you an example. This plant is indigenous to the rainforest, meaning that this plant has been here since the beginning. Anything you think of being the first would be considered like indigenous. It doesn't have to necessarily be people, it could be animals. But that's how you would use that sentence if you were to use it, that word in a sentence. Make sense?
Not really.
So indigenous meaning that it was one of the original items or original things of a place. So if I say, for example, the indigenous tribe Native Americans were an indigenous race to North America. That means they were the first people in North America. Indigenous being the first of something. Native. All right, well, everyone, as you wrap up this week, think about the new vocabulary words we had. You're gonna need those for the after class quiz questions, but also our use of present perfect simple versus present perfect continuous, the difference in the meaning and what you need to use it. Now, this week for your writing assignment, I want you to describe what you could see if you were floating down a river that you wouldn't normally see from the road. Now, the purpose of this is for you to think creatively, for you to think also descriptively, using details. Really try to help the reader picture what you're seeing. Even if you're something that you're making up, we want your words to be very picturesque, very descriptive. Write no more than 400 words and submit that to the form within the next 7 days for edits. On the page afterwards, you'll find the words of the day to complete the sentences and then the answer key where you can check your answer. Right now, I'll go ahead and copy over today's link. If you'd like to get started with any of the exercises, just go ahead and click on the link in the chat room. There's the link there, and then request access, and then I'll be able to grant that to you. Any questions as we wrap up for today? All right, I will see you all next Sunday. Have a great week. Happy
Bye.
holidays. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.